What is void in architecture? Hey everyone, today let's talk about the fascinating concept in architecture, void. When it comes to mastering this idea, one name stands out in the 21st century, Aires Mateus. Aires Mateus, along with his brother Francesca, has redefined architecture design with their innovative style. Hailing from Portugal, Aires Mateus has completed several remarkable projects that showcase his unique approach to architecture, such as House in Alenquer, House in Montserrat, Mason and Portugal, School in Villanova, Housing for the Elderly by Aires Mateus. This video is a continuation of our previous discussion where we delve into the idea of stereotomy and the void in architecture. Today we will take a closer look into how this concept is applied in the real world. In this video we will explore practical example of Aires Mateus' work to better understand the concept of void in architecture. Let's dive in and get started. Aires Mateus' architecture is very different from the traditional designs. At first glance, their work may seem like a simple facade with a pure form, but there is much more to it. Their buildings are like a great hollowed sculpture where people become the part of the space. Their architecture isn't just about the dimensions of building elements that surround a space, it is about the void within the space itself, where people live and move. Aires Mateus often accompany their published projects with the site photographs and the references to the other buildings. These illustrations provide valuable insight into their work. For example, in Ireland, Innis Min Island, the cliffs are shaped by the nature in a precise way, almost like they were measured with the ruler. Waves crash against the rock, forming block-like shapes and creating small pool of water between them. It is like a nature is building with the skill of master builder. In a quarry of Montserrat, Portugal, people have shaped the landscape too. They have created similar to those formed by nature, but not as perfectly shaped. These hollow fills with the water and become a natural pools. Beta George's Church in Ethiopia, first a hole is dug out in the rocky ground with a square ditch around a stone block. Then the outer shape of the church is carved into it. The giant causeway in the northern island. These geometric basalt steps are formed by quickly cooled lava in a volcanic crater, creating cluster of prismatic pillars that look like stacked stone blocks sculpted by the human hands. The Pyramid of Giza in the Cairo, nature has weathered the perfect pyramid shapes, originally built by the stacking stone blocks and covering them with the finely carved polished rock. Over time, earthquake caused the cladding to fall off and erosion has worn away the stone aggregate, leaving behind a weathered mound with the natural surface. In the Tiberias Grotto, a natural sea cave has been enhanced artificially with the addition of circular and rectangular pools. The original shape of the cave remains unchanged. The Temple of Mercury, a room has been partially excavated into the rocky hillside, shaped ideally with the circular plan and the domed ceiling. A large opening at the top allows light to enter, and the floor is flooded with the water, creating a pond. Here, the most striking feature in all these examples is not the solid stone mass, but the gaps formed by the erosion or excavation. They are set in intriguing landscape where the natural and artificial worlds meet. Clearly, architects cannot replicate these shapes directly from the rock or match the forces of nature such as water, wind and plant erosion over the long periods. Nor they can use the same digging and sculpting technique that were prevalent in the past. The work of Aires Mateus is clearly influenced, directly or indirectly, by these inspirations for space. However, their project bear a personal touch, reflecting their own research and reinterpretation. Let's delve into the theory with the example of Aires Mateus, starting with their project, the new volume of House in Alenquer in the 2002. This project marks a significant milestone in the career of Aires Mateus, introducing a new architecture concept. Originally, the project aimed to renovate an existing home, a common brief in architecture history. However, Aires Mateus took a unique approach. They chose to preserve the exterior volume to maintain its relationship with its surrounding, while completely rethinking the interior space. When they first encountered the original wall, all that remained were its wall. The structure had collapsed, leaving behind what was the once a functional building, now resembling a ruin on a conventional scale. They now had 7-meter tall walls, each a meter thick, punctured by several mysterious voids. This marked a turning point for Aires Mateus when they realized these walls had developed their own unique character over time. This realization sparked a new direction in their architecture. The new building was carefully placed within these historic walls, forming a modular volume with the precise and independent rules. However, the real essence of the project becomes interplay between this new structure and the ancient walls. Another key question they addressed was how to treat these historic walls. They opted for the stark contrast with the surrounding architecture by integrating the walls into the house itself. They unified the entire house with the consistent theme of white finishing and extended the interior floors out to meet the walls. This approach gave the new house a distinctive character. It is no longer felt like a space between two buildings, but rather like two halves of the same unified structure. This architecture approach bears a striking resemblance to the hewn churches in Lalibela, where the gap between the excavated trench and the carved church initially represent a residual void, a negative space. However, this void transforms into a positive element through the interaction between the existing outline and the structure inserted into it. In a similar vein, the orthogonal geometry of Aires Mateus' new volume contrasts with the non-orthogonal nature of the pre-existing perimeters of wall. This contrast generates a dialogue between the interior and the exterior space, enhancing the dynamic interaction between the two. In Aires Mateus' project, the new and existing walls complement each other, creating a mutually reinforcing relationship. At a specific point, the space between them opens up visually to the surrounding environment, the landscape and the sky above. Let's explore another project to understand Aires Mateus architecture, the house on the Alentejo coast, completed between 2000 and 2003. This house is nestled in a serene wooded landscape. Like Louis Kahn, Aires Mateus makes a clear distinction between servant and the served spaces. According to Louis Kahn, the served space is the main area or the focus of the design, while the servant spaces encompasses the supporting services and the facilities. Similarly, Aires Mateus defines distinct boundaries between servant space and the served space in their architecture designs. For instance, in Louis Kahn's project of Richard's Medical Research Laboratories in Philadelphia, constructed between 1957, the central main space exhibits a regular geometry as a served space. The other boundaries house the servant spaces, which includes the fire escapes, ventilations, ducts and other equipments. Both the served space and the servant spaces are defined with the context of regular shapes. This approach not only emphasizes functional efficiency but also enhances architecture coherence and the spatial dynamics within the design. In Aires Mateus' work, we observe an inversion of the Louis Kahn's approach. In this house, the regular and pure form is found outside the perimeter of the main structure. The entire volume forms a single space within the square base. Meanwhile, the interior space presents an irregular outline with the central feature, the courtyard, enclosed on three sides. This house exemplifies common feature in the Aires Mateus architecture, a quest for obscure views, indirect lighting, and the complex spatial arrangement for the main house. They interact dynamically with the void inside the space. This concept draws inspiration from the Louis Kahn architecture principles, where the main space possesses a regular shape and surrounded by secondary space arranged in the discontinuous or differentiated manner. This arrangement defines a complex perimeter. Aires Mateus employs a similar approach in their design for the school in Villanova, created between 2006 and 2011. The design features several rectangular prisms grouped together to create a cluster with the rectangular base within a square perimeter. These blocks are deliberately spaced apart, leaving gaps that form courtyard interconnected to their corners. This arrangement creates a continuous but maze-like system of open spaces, with boundaries defined by multiple right-angle bends that ultimately enclose upon themselves. This distinctive boundaries line between the masses, the rectangular block, and the void, the courtyard, exemplifies Aires Mateus' architecture style, emphasizing intricate spatial relationship and the interplay between solid form and the open spaces within the design. The plan of the school in Villanova can also be seen in the perimeter ring of the rooms. Each accessed directly from the outside, leaving a large central courtyard with the 4 blocks rising within it, partially occupying the space. Despite the fragmentation of the void into smaller courtyards and the almost complete separation between the interior volume and the perimeter, all the open spaces are interconnected because the common boundary lines crosses back upon itself. This design creates a typological simple building, a ring structure around an open space. Visitor can move through all the open spaces without needing to enter the enclosed area, and conversely they can navigate through all the enclosed spaces without needing to exit into the open area. This architecture concept exemplifies Aires Mateus' approach of integrating complex spatial arrangements with the clear organizational structure, where the interaction between open and enclosed spaces enhances both functionally and the aesthetic appeal. In this overview of the Francisca and the Manuel Aires Mateus work, we have explored the breadth and depth of their achievement, rooted in their innovative approach to the fundamental architecture concepts. If we were to distill their work into a single idea, it would be this: their focus lies not primarily on the solid structure they design and construct, but on the empty space these structures delineate and interact with. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you have any particular recommend of architecture video, you can comment down below. We will definitely make a video on that particular topic. Subscribe to the channel for more such videos. See you in the next video. Salute.